Today I'm going to talk about the way of choosing altcoins or cryptocurrencies assets for the long-term investments. And this way I think it's one of the most reliable and most reasonable for the person who doesn't have the whole information, who doesn't have the skill or experience playing with fundamental analysis or technical analysis. So let's look at this method. Basically, you look at the list of the altcoins and you think what is good, what is not. You buy someone which seemingly may be very hyped one, very promising, and then it goes down like 30 or 50% next day or next week, and you are upset. You think, okay, shall I sell or shall I hold it for years or something like that? And in reality, there is no way to properly evaluate this, especially since you don't have the full information, you don't have often the skill of evaluating markets and the position of certain projects, certain coins within these markets. So it's really non-trivial task even for the professional, by the way. So what you can do is that you can technically copy the way of other investors deal with this issue. And saying about investors, we need to find those which have the best performance. And in order to do that, you need to basically look at the biggest cryptocurrencies funds, especially venture funds and those which operate the capital from the other people and organizations. It's actually quite easy to find the list of those funds, and from 2013 there are over 700 cryptocurrencies funds. And when we were saying that, oh, there is no institutional money here, guys, there are a lot of companies who already invest in Bitcoin, in other cryptocurrencies. So, and you can see actually the amount of the assets under management is quite big. $1 billion per crypto fund list, 810 million per crypto fund list, and so on and so forth. So quite impressive size. And you can basically look at the websites of those funds. You can find often those portfolios out there, and they are open. They are try to get more clients by showing their profits and the way they invest into crypto. And in principle, you can find other details like who invested in these funds and so on and so forth. So just let's have a brief look at what do they do. For example, Anderson Horowitz. There is a crypto investment fund, so we can look at their portfolio on their website. There are different classes, different sectors, and we're just interested in crypto. So of course, Bitcoin is here, and you can see some infrastructure points like Coinbase and others like. But it's interesting that there are some small number of altcoins which they seem to be paying attention to. For example, they have, of course, Ethereum, DYDX, Filecoin, Dfinity, and Orchid. So among in principle, very few altcoins, they pick a very certain numbers which you may or may not be aware of, but of course they choose a very safe one like Bitcoin and Ethereum. But why did they pick, like, for example, XRP? Why didn't they pick Litecoin? But they picked very, very high potential in their view altcoins or projects which may be like diversifying their safe, quote-unquote, safe assets like Ethereum, and maybe bring a very strong, very high profit in future. Another one, Digital Currency Group. So what you can find here, that they have actually a very huge list of the investments. You can find again some infrastructure projects here like Abra, a lot of the exchanges and wallets like Bitflyer, and so on and so forth. So they actually have the list of their investments, and they have like different directions of doing that, and one of them is Grayscale. This is the trusted authority on digital currency investment. So you can look at what they have, and basically they have the list of the biggest altcoins in terms of the market capitalization, and of course they have the Bitcoin there, and you can also see the asset holdings amount. Here it is in $1 million. So Bitcoin is the biggest one, is $805 million. And by the way, they already made 2,500% of profit from their investments. So, and others, well, they're not that good. So you can imagine that this one, despite it seem to be not the biggest profit short term, it's still very reliable and very profitable for the huge organizations on the long term. But interesting to see what do they add in terms of the altcoins. So you can see Bitcoin Cash, only $2 million. It is there, but it's very, very small amount. Ethereum, 6.5, quite reasonable. Ethereum Classic here, you can see it's much bigger than all the rest altcoins, basically all the rest altcoins together, $20.7 million. Litecoin here, just 0.3, Stellar 0.3, XRP 4.1. It's actually quite reasonable because it's sort of a diversification against the other altcoins, which are different from XRP fundamentally. And you can find Zcash here, which is quite surprising, and it's basically bigger than Ethereum. So you can see how they see the potential of the growth of the different altcoins. So why they picked Ethereum Classic instead of Ethereum, why there's so different allocation and it is bigger for ETC. One of the main reasons, in my opinion, is that Ethereum Classic is fundamentally basically the same as Ethereum. It can provide the same functionality. The only difference is that it doesn't have Vitalik Buterin and it doesn't have the hype and network effect and the number of developers that Ethereum has. But technically, it could upgrade it in principle to the same level as Ethereum could. And in the long term, they expect that maybe this ratio, especially taking account the difference in price, which I don't know, 20, factor of 20 or something, they expect that maybe Ethereum Classic is a better bet. And in fact, right now it's actually profitable comparing to Ethereum. But in any case, it's interesting to see those different allocations. And Zcash, again, this is the privacy coin, so they may have a bet on the privacy. Instead of Monero, by the way, they picked Zcash. And again, this is sort of a diversification against the other sort of a similar altcoins. Let's look at the other one, Pantera Capital. And you know that this is one of the biggest investments firm in cryptocurrencies. So you can look at their investments. So they have venture investments, and they also included some infrastructure projects like Abra, like Backed, like Brave, by the way, Bitstamp here, Circle, Civic, and at the same time they add, well, again, Ripple is here, not XRP, by the way, Shapeshift and Zappo. And again, you can, by the way, find here a Zcash. So Zcash is seemingly to be quite popular among the huge investors. So why so? Probably they know something which other people don't know. You also can find some more interesting altcoins, like for example 0x protocol, which is I think 38 position on CoinMarketCap, so it's not the biggest altcoin, but apparently they see some potential. Data is here, Filecoin, Enigma. Just look at the capitalization of those altcoins right now. Do you think that they are already established, they have already huge returns? No, but they still holding it because it's reasonable to expect bigger profit when the new bull market will come. So they will just wait until they will have their 5, 10, maybe 100x on those projects. And by the way, they will probably sell those projects coins to you guys, so please try to sell it before them. Icon is here, Kin, Kyber Network, and so on and so forth. Omisego here, Wax. And just by comparing those investments with different trust, with different investment firms, you can see which seem to be having similar intention to buy from different projects, from different firms, and you may sort of evaluate the value on the average. So let's look to the other one, Blockchain Capital, and you can find the active investments here and also the exits, so those which they already sold. And of course here is not so many, as soon as the bull market not started yet, so they don't have the profits as they wanted. So although there are some infrastructure projects here, but we're interested in the cryptocurrencies assets. So what do they have here? Of course you can find again those names like Abra and Bitco here and Bitfury and so on. But for the altcoins, they again invested in Filecoin. They have Kin here. They also have Power Ledger. Do you think that it's one of the first 10? No, it's actually quite low. But Blockchain Capital apparently see the high potential for the growth of this project in future because of the strong fundamentals. And by the way, 0x is also here. So it doesn't mean that if you invest you'll have like profits on the same day, because you see even those projects, those investment firms, they have these huge losses over the time of the bear market, but they still hold those assets because they expect these assets will grow eventually. And also, you don't necessarily need to buy just at the same day as they made their investments. You can wait, you can see how those investments will do, if they will actually go down, but still they will be held by those companies, and then you can buy it on the with a discount. So it's another option. Moreover, you can look at not the established projects, but for example, for the Pantera Capital, they invested in Seller, which ICO, by the way, will be within this like few, maybe 10-12 hours from now. So you can basically evaluate the value of the ICOs which are just on the way to be launched. And moreover, since they invest in many coins, you may expect that they basically follow the standard strategy of the venture investments when they invest in many high potential coins, high potential assets, and they expect that maybe a majority of those assets will not appreciate in value. Maybe some will go to zero, but some of them will be very huge, and the profits of those assets will cover all the losses that they have in total. So you may, in principle, follow the same strategy, just make a very diversified portfolio, invest a very little amount of your whole stack to many altcoins which seem to be high potential and like appreciated by huge investments firm. And why do you think actually it's reasonable to follow their strategy? Guys, if there are people who know the most about the cryptocurrency space and have some insider information, then those are people who are leading those funds. Because who else then? Not mentioning again the fact that they actually use the money from the side investors who will be very upset if they will lose their money. So they have to be very open. They are legit and following the general rules of the accounting, of showing their progress, and so on and so forth. So if you're not sure what to do, what to like invest to in 5-10 years time frame, and you think what is good, what is bad, just look at the coins, the projects which those huge investors try to accumulate. And if you'll find something interesting which resonate with your interest, with your thoughts, go with it. Of course, as usual, guys, not financial advice, but I think this is one of the safest approach you can find on the market, especially considering the lack of information and lack of the correct and adequate information about this space. Okay, that is it for today. I hope to see you tomorrow in the next update. Thank you for watching.